Shalom. Happy 4th of July.
Novak, ladies and gentlemen, was born on the 4th of July, 1946. So let's give him a big hand.
I may have been born on the 4th of July. Depends on how you define born. In the Chinese tradition, supposedly, to be born is the day of conception. So Patrick Henry, who said, "Give me liberty or give me death," may have been born on the 4th of July based on conception. I like this song. Too bad it has USA.
My father's a World War II veteran. I just talked to him yesterday. Today is his birthday. He's 89 years old, and a lot of our veterans are in the audience tonight. Going to have all our veterans stand up who have also served in the military. All y'all stand up. Be proud. Men and women who have served in the military, God bless you all. Because you're the generation that has saved it for us.
To defend the concept of
start again with just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause our flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
What a beautiful idea, to be free. In 1828, the word bountiful was tied to the concept of being free. A land of milk and honey flowing freely. A free society, free capital flowing. I don't know that it's about capitalism or socialism, but this concept of free. America resonates as we hear that word, especially in song. So I found the Star Spangled Banner. Notice it doesn't say America once. Jose, can you see? Jose, puedes ver? So it does have a nice tie-in to the Hispanic community because it's referring to Jose. The etymology of America. America is named after Amerigo Vespucci. This is the Library of Congress. Amerigo Vespucci, we know for certain, didn't go on one of his voyages and likely didn't go on any of his voyages. A map created by this man references it in relation to Amerigo, so that's been accepted. Is it North America, South America, both Americas? America. So this is a nice quote by Edgar Allan Poe, 1846. South America is America, and will insist upon remaining so. And that's interesting that he linked to the Appalachia. This was probably an Indian word. Appalachia. Wonder what that means in Hebrew. America. So this is the 1828 dictionary. From Amerigo Vespucci, a Florentine, who pretended to have first discovered the western continent. Noah Webster didn't think it was Amerigo Vespucci. And this could be his northern ties, because he says Sebastian Cabot in 1498 actually hit the continent. So today is July 4th, and this is called the Declaration of Independence. And it'd be nice to do a difference operator here, but this looks pretty much the same there. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for people to dissolve. Preservation of life, liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Governments are instituted among men. What does among mean? So it definitely got shorter here, so it would be interesting to see what they took out. And so this is what his legislative buddies added. So this got lengthened, and it's about taxes. And just look at how many taxes a citizen of the USA pays today in comparison to what led to this war in 1776. Made some derogatory remark about the Indians. Added by the legislators about having to kill their brethren. And then this is the failure of July 4th, 1776. So some people will excuse this failure and say, well, they did the best they could. 2 out of the 13 colonies wouldn't agree. But they were great men. Well, you couldn't get 2 out of 13 of the colonies to agree, or you just separated yourself from those 2. What's the problem? So, this was the failure of the so-called United States. It led to the Three-Fifths Compromise, and there it was. There was the chance. Oh, but we have to negotiate. Oh, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. So just imagine where the multiverse would be if this happened. So maybe they fought their Civil War at the same time. They fought the Great Britain War. This was the first the first flag. George Washington was up in the Northeast in cruisers or ships, and no one was flying the same flag, and they didn't know who was who, so he told them to raise this flag. So this was the first American flag. It reminds me of Psalms of the evergreen tree growing by the river. I have some concerns about George Washington. John Hancock wanted to be the leader of the army, but he was from the North and he wasn't as rich as George Washington, so he didn't get the post. So it's a function of the money, I guess. 1888, Hulbert, The Origin of the Name America. It's a free article. So let's look at the facts. First, the Ameri-ca is an Indian name. So first of all, where did Africa come from? Afri were the name of the local people, and then ca meant land, Africa, in Latin. The country of the wind in Mayan. The Christian name of Amerigo Vespucci is Alberigo. It's not Amerigo. The Ameri-ca tribe. Isk. There's a ka in there. Ameri-ca. So Amerigo, on one of his trips, I think it says like 50 men went up against 400 savages. Not one man was killed, but it was horrific. Or not one of the Europeans was killed. And so there's some letters back and forth about the original word is Nicaraguan, designated to an indigenous tribe. I think they have a translation of that here. God bless America. It rings in our hearts for a reason. The naming of the Americas. So this is the supposed Amerigo Vespucci angle. And some Englishman says, no, it was named after me. So the locals, a local group calls it Abiyala. If that doesn't sound Hebrew, I don't know what does. The land of full maturity, the land of vital blood. Ab, father. Yah, Yah, and La. Lai, Lai, spelled backwards. So I was looking for Ameri-ca. This is a dictionary of the Guarani language. You can't search, it doesn't work. And in doing so, I've got off on a tangent and found a few things that were interesting. So I'll go in reverse order that I found them. Yes, we can't find any search elements. Descubrirse secreta. To discover a secret. Ameri-ca guara ambawata. So I'm wondering if there's Ameri-ca in there. And because I can't search the Guarani word yet, it's really hard to distinguish it. But one of the things you're going to notice is gua is everywhere in Central and South America. I'm looking for the scoopers. Descupador marani. Desculparse. Che marani. Amboyehu. Che marani. Mumbo guandani. So this is a little bit of a tangent, but now we have marani and marangatue. To excuse oneself. Disculparse, I think. That's what it means. So I was looking for Kingdom of Heaven. There's some writings about Ameri-ca being tied to an ancient word meaning Kingdom of Heaven. The alphabet in Spanish is different, so you have to search a little bit. Reino de los cielos, the Kingdom of Heaven. Ibahe tama, ama. Ama, there's a ta in front of it. Ama. A base man. Unidad. Mara. Marangwa. Marangwari. Marani. The gua. The guari. The guar is gone between those two. A base man. Mara. Marani. IV. Mane. A good man is a ruined man. It seems a little bit weird. Hombre. Aba. Hombre de bien hacerse, a good man. Imboya aquí ye gua. Oops, I can't double click. Gua. Animo marangatu, a good man. Honor. Marangatu. Honorably. Marangatu ape. Maranga to Pira. These might be separate words. Might be Maranga to Ape, based on that down there. Again, I don't speak Guarani. I know a few words. Virtuoso, virtuous. Aba, man. Marangatu, virtuosamente marangatu. Ape, virtue. Marangata, virginity. Marani. So this Marani Marangata might have been a name of the Pahe, the spiritual leaders. They could have practiced something like the Nazarene or Nazir practice of virginity, virgin, Marani. So that was a little bit off topic because I couldn't do a search. Here I can do a search. I'll search for Amer. Amer, see this word to love, or America mean to be deaf, or America mean an animal for sacrifice, or Amer with a T is a staff or a scepter. This is in the hieroglyphs of Egypt. Okay. On this page, I'm not seeing the Amer. Haru, the 30-day god. So they had 30-day months in ancient Hebrew or ancient Egypt. The Hebrews probably followed that, but they had a god named for each of them, and one of them was Mamaref. In Guarani, I found this Aka word that I had found on one of those pages that I missed in going through this again. I'm not seeing a mare here. The title of a high priest, the beloved, his beloved son. So I can search for Mar. Let's get out of the It would be nice to say skip these pages and just search. Okay. I'm not seeing the Mar there. It still could be loading. So again, wouldn't this be nice if this was searchable? This is a nice link going through the Egyptian kind of workbook. I searched Ameri-ca, Kingdom of Heaven, which is an article I've read somewhere, and both on Google and Search Brave, you just can't find it. They've buried it with a movie. Ameri-ca, I only can find non-English versions. So I searched for the word man. So we have Adam means man. Evil means man. Aman is a cunning workman. Amar could mean man, could mean speak, could mean love in Spanish. So I'm looking for Ameri-ca. And again, the ka I'm downplaying because Africa means land in Latin. So it's Ameri. So Cristobal Colon is not Columbus or Columbia. Colon is likely Colombe with an M. His ancestry is likely from Barcelona. And Nephi called him a man among the Gentiles. So I looked up among in the 1828 dictionary to see, well, what exactly does that mean? And that website, because of this, didn't have the definitions unless you looked up amongst. So the primary definition of 1828 is in general or primitive sense mixed or mingled with, as tares among wheat, a man among Gentiles. Tares among wheat. That means, in the first definition, he was a man, and that's why I looked it up in the Hebrew. What's the word for man? He was a Jew. He was a Heber among Gentiles. Or the second definition means you're a member of the set, conjoined or associated with. He was a Gentile among Gentiles. So why would the language be a man among Gentiles? So I'm not going to get into a lot of that here, but there's a lot of evidence to suggest that Cristobal Colon was from a family in Barcelona, Montjonc, part of the Inquisition, killed a bunch of Jews in the Jewish quarter. Been there. There are spirits crying from the ground there. It's definitely a place of not peace. But they turned it into a prison, so they built upon the cemetery of Montjonc, a prison where they would kill people. And this Colon family got put down by Ferdinand and Isabella. And so, you know, his backstory, where he's from, Portugal, northern Italy, whatever, he paid a priest to write something called the Kingdom of Heaven to show that he was a Christian. He left right when the Jews were being expulsed. He gets to America and notices everyone's circumcised in America. A man among the Gentiles. So, going back to the Guarani and the word Colombia, India in Guarani is a generic word that most people think means a thing. So just imagine the ship is arriving and everyone's pointing and saying, Colombia, Colombia. that thing of Cologne. But if you look closely at Imbia, M-B-Y-A, there's some places on the map that have it. An island off of Brazil is Imbia something, the place where men that don't like the sea want to stand. There's a place in Misiones on the border of Brazil called Imbia Guarani. There's a place in Paraguay called Imbia Guanaja or something. So if a man among the Gentiles is coming and you know it, did you have his name? Were you pointing at him and saying Columbia? And then we look at the first voyage and the supposed build a camp with 19 people with a ship and stay behind when you were just attacked by someone with arrows on that same island. That ship got scuttled. There was a ship that had superior firepower to them and destroyed one of their ships and killed their men. And they got out of Dodge, and then they changed the journal. And when they came back, they could never find those people again. These people knew how to operate a ship. Their ships were probably way faster because they were probably catamaran-type ships, the Drua-type ships. So a Gentile could be a pagan. This is generally the definition that we have in our mind. Any person that's not a Jew or a Christian. Now think about the phrase Nephite or Lamanite. You're either tied to the people of Nephi or you're not. And with the Mosiah priority of the translation, that gets lost a little bit. You're either part of the people of Nephi or you're not. If you're not, we called you a Lamanite. That doesn't mean you're a descendant of Laman. There's lots of people here. And whether or not Laman conquered those people is a function of Laman's ambitions. If Laman and Lemuel are lazy, they're going to get their kingdom, start their families, and go to business. They may have sons and daughters that aren't lazy, that may want to go out and explore and find the people of Nephi and kill them. If you read carefully, it says we did have skirmishes with our brothers, but that's because the people of Nephi were down spying on where their brothers were to understand how to create borders with the brothers. I really have this hard time believing that Laman and Lemuel, who are supposedly so lazy, spent the rest of their lives trying to seek out and destroy their brother. And how did Nephi know that they were dark-skinned, that they had adopted some of the pagan or Gentile practices of the locals? He was spying on them. So we think of Goyim, plural, nations, from Gentile. But if you read carefully, Goy just means nation. It doesn't have any application of judgment of what people it belonged to. But it's translated as Gentiles or nations. It's referring to the lines of Noah, the lines of Abraham, and they're being called Goyi. So there is no separation between a judgment of the people as being heathen. So let's see what that does. So does it mean nation or does it mean heathen? There's a judgment being placed here. A man among the Gentiles came to Ameri-ca, the land of the free, the bountiful. So they were probably trading on a credit system with beads and seashells. So rather than transporting gold and silver all the time, they would trade on credit, because why do you need to transport with gold and silver if you're exchanging salt from Santorum for some sort of food crop from North America? And all of this is easy to find if you just read the remnant of the original records we have. They certainly covered this up. They get there, they see all these people. These people might have been pointing at him and saying, Colombia. He's like, how do you know my name? And then they're circumcised. They describe 3 types. Blanquitos, white as can be. Morenos, similar in skin color to the Spanish. And negritos, black, dark as night. So now we have this history of, there weren't any blacks in America. They came from Africa later on slave ships. That's ridiculous. Now think about this. The blanquitos, the negritos, and the morenos, they got along fine. He describes some of the villages as being completely ignorant to the ways of a boat, how a boat operates, etc. And he discovered some people that knew how to operate a boat. And he made these comments. His original journal, I think, got truncated by a few days. We don't have the original journal. We have a copy of a copy. He took a few prisoners to learn the language. There was a common language, a commerce language. This is sometimes called the language vulgar, the vulgar language. There's another word for it. Lingua franca, the frank language, the common language, the language of commerce. And it was called Tupi. 100 years later, the Tupi language was dead. You don't think that was orchestrated? The remnant of the Tupi language is the Guarani language. So there was a scholar that talks about how the Algonquin, the Arawakan, and all these languages were tied. He recently passed away. Were tied to this language. Oh, look, there's a starting point. Oh, look, there's another point. 2 brothers separated by river systems because of the mountains. You want to get away from your brothers, you go to a different river valley. A lot of this research was done. I'm trying to find his name. Let's go to prototyping. And there's some articles that show the possible evolution of the language from one area to the other. And it does show that movement, but it doesn't show it as a separation. They try to put time in one place on it. There's the guy. It's Rodriguez. So she's still alive. Ana Suela Arruda Camara Cabral. He had a hypothesis that the Carib was a different language, but the Arawak, right there where Columbus landed, is tied to the Araucan, to the Quechuan, all built under the Tupian language. And if you understand what I was saying with the colonistas and the conquistadores, they utilized this common language to then transform it to Spanish or Portuguese. So they had access to that original language. And if everyone was speaking it, then obviously it wasn't necessarily the mother language, but it at least was a vulgar or a franca language. It was a language to at least help them communicate. And remember, Nafi was supposed to be a great missionary, a protector. He would go in and teach tribes how to be self-sufficient with food and how to protect themselves. And he would teach them about God. And he'd let them live in a manner of happiness based on the basic teachings. His people were practicing the law of Moses to the letter. He probably taught Jacob how to teach these others as well. I think Nephi did a lot of teaching. When you look at the first time Jacob appears in the legend of Nephi, it's almost like Nephi's training him on how to teach, because Jacob's teaching his actual people, like the Blanquito, true bloodline. And Nephi's out teaching everyone. He's doing more than teaching them. He's fathering nations. Today is July 4th, the day of freedom, to remind us of America. True America is not a contractual form of a country such as the US of A. They had their chance and they failed. Right there. They weren't man enough to stand up over slavery, but they were man enough to stand up over a 1% tax on their goods. Don't get me wrong, I think there were a lot of great and noble spirits among them. And God is playing the game, and he understands the weaknesses and strengths of men. And in the end, Israel, God prevails. God prevails. I think it's a learning lesson for us about preconceptions of history. It's a learning lesson about understanding that winners write the narrative, winners propagandize the narrative, and the true narrative might be very simple. Might be very simple and elegant. So simple that a child could understand it. Suffer the children to come unto me. Our current history isn't that way, and we have to decompose the current history to get there. So to all my brethren and sisters, I say brethren, I mean sisters, hermanos y hermanas de Ameri-ca, shalom, God bless you, regardless of the color of your skin. If you believe in the concept of freedom, the concept of free will, free trade, free society, and part of the Christian way would include socialist ideals such as taking care of the poor, taking care of the health of people, but it wouldn't be based on this USA system of big pharma. It would be based on the herbs of the field. It would be based on Mother Gaia, Mother Earth, and her beauty and her strength. And so Ameri-ca, the kingdom of heaven. And in 3rd Nephi, when Yeshua gets to America and prays the Lord's Prayer, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. I don't think he said that. That's the translation that Joseph would have understood. He doesn't say thy kingdom come. It has come. Thy kingdom is America. And he is there. And it is arrived. Envia, America. The arrival, the landing of America. And that was all thanks to the marvelous efforts of Nephi, the great builder of nations. May God bless and protect you. Shalom.